Welcome to What the Pod. Nope, wrong podcast. See, I did it. Having two podcasts is what really messed me up. That might make the bloopers.
Take two.
That's right.
The All About Nothing podcast
may have content and language
that isn't appropriate for some.
Listener discretion is advised.
Welcome to the All About Nothing podcast. I am Barrett Gruber, and this week we are recording from the town hall of the Town of Blythewood, South Carolina. I am joined by Sloan, as well as Brock, David. Donald, thanks. The likelihood is I'm going to mess something up. But Sloan Griffin III, who was recently just sworn in as the new mayor of Blythewood. So congratulations.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
As well as Donald Brock, who also was just sworn in. You were reelected.
That's correct.
This is your second term?
It will be my second full term, yes.
Well, congratulations as well.
Thank you.
That's exciting. So just real quick, I'll hit all the stuff that we normally hit during the episode, but just make sure, please subscribe to the show. Subscriptions drive our searches, and that's how we get new listeners. Also, please consider supporting us financially by visiting theallaboutnothing.com and becoming an official member and proudly calling yourself a true nothinger. We have a bunch of membership tiers available that give you early access and exclusive content. Also, if you're listening to us on Apple Podcasts and you think we're worth it, go ahead and give us one of those reviews and drop us 5 stars. And if you're not on Apple Podcasts, please consider sharing the episode with your family and friends and drop a review where you can. With that out of the way, I do have a couple shout-outs. Thanks to Mayor Tim Miles of the City of West Columbia for being on with us a couple weeks ago. That was episode number 182. As well, I want to thank Carrie and Zach of the podcast What the Pod Was That, Ami of the podcast Welcome to Wonderland, and Micah, our Dungeon Master, for our adventure that continues to move along. We just dropped episode number 3 of that series, and some big crazy things coming up in episode 4, so make sure to subscribe so that you can check that out when it comes. Those are our D&D adventures, Dungeons and Dragons. Do you ever do any Dungeons and Dragons?
No,
but
I will try.
My son does, actually. On Thursday evenings at his middle school, he actually has D&D club.
That is
Yeah,
really
That's
cool.
an actual club at
Yeah,
school?
yeah. Middle school, and they probably have one in high school.
Ooh.
Yeah, I just ask him if he has his D&D book. He says yes, and I say, okay, go forth and be great, because I don't know anything about it, and I don't claim to know anything about it.
If you don't recognize Brock, he was on with us before the Soda City Comic Con, which we haven't gotten an opportunity to discuss.
We will.
Yeah, it was.
We could probably do a twofer.
Yeah. It was a fantastic event for us. We signed up easily 60 or 70 people just for our email list alone, and only one of them has been asked to unsubscribe.
That's pretty good.
Yeah,
That's a good ratio.
yeah, that's not
guess
bad
who
at all.
Guess who comes to Comic-Con though? That guy right there.
Did you?
And he brings his son.
Let me tell you something. I have a blast, and Brock knows where to find me at.
Pinball room.
Pinball room
Okay.
all day long. But it
Okay.
is, for the little one, for my son to come out. He knows now how to, do it, and he's excited to hit the ball. So I appreciate.
Oh, it's so much fun.
It's great.
I can't even imagine the amount of work, because the number of times that I'd see Brock walking past our table, it was the Flash, and that's a comic book reference.
It's more, but it's more zigzag because there's so many,
yeah.
there's people there that are in the way.
How can you briefly tell us what the ratio as far as like the number of people that were there this year compared to last year?
Well, I think this year and last year are quite comparable. We ballparked approximately, and it's an approximate number. We don't count. We don't do clickers. We base it on tickets sold, or tickets sold, donated, vendors, guests, and all that. Approximately about 8,500 or so, which is comparable to the prior year. We take up the entire building at the Columbia Metropolitan Convention Center, so we really can't expand. The only thing we can do is, bring in different vendors, bring in different guests, bring in different artists. We have grown our video game and pinball presence. We're looking at expanding, our pinball tournament and stuff next year, making it a little bit bigger to try to bring in some additional attractions. And so, it kind of is what it is. At some point, I've talked to the leaders of the City of Columbia, Richland County, to expand the convention center, but that's a major investment for the city county. I don't know if Lexington County, because they were original part of the original investment, I don't know if they want to do that anymore. I obviously can't speak for them.
Sure.
But the way we can continue to grow the event is if they are willing to grow the facility, and I don't know if they're there yet.
Wow.
So, but we're doing well, and we've already got it locked in for 2024.
That's awesome.
And we're excited.
It was a blast. We had family come in from out of town just to come to it, and my brother's favorite part was getting to meet a lot of the anime characters that he got signatures from and pictures with, and that was a blast for him. I got to meet Vanessa Angel. I got to hang out with
me too.
Michael Bean.
Vanessa was kind of one of the highlights of my weekend. I remember Weird Science from the 90s, and I was like, yeah.
So I missed that.
Did you miss that?
I think I did.
Well, we'll have to introduce you next year.
Yeah, next year.
Yeah, she when they Brock and his group actually got arranged for her to come and sit at our table, and we got to record about 15 or 20 minutes with her, and there was I think she was flirting with me.
Sure, we'll go with that.
I think
Make that a blooper.
that's right.
She is. I will say this. I was fortunate enough to be able to one to pick her up from the airport, and she is just the nicest person. She's genuinely a nice and kind person. She doesn't come across as pretentious.
No.
Or she's from the UK, but she doesn't really have an accent, or either she fakes it, one of the two. And she just really is a genuinely nice person. Like she was asking me, tell me about you, tell me about your family, what do you do, stuff like that. It was, it just very relaxing, very approachable.
Yeah.
And most people are once you get to know them. And, you mentioned anime. Like, Columbia's a big anime town.
Yeah.
People don't really realize a lot of it. And I can recommend some stuff for you to watch. Okay. And that way you can catch up. A little catch up a little bit. Yeah. So... it's just it's a good wholesome event. We actually had a good turnout from Blythewood. We pull zip codes, and there are a lot of 29016ers that come down there. So
that's really cool.
Yeah, it is. So a lot of people in Blythewood are aware of it, and they do appreciate the event.
All right. Also want to remind everyone that this Thursday, December 7th, John Kosis Jr., Broadcast and Media Relations Manager for the Columbia Fireflies and author of the book, Play-by-Play from the Minors, Profiles of Baseball Broadcasters from Scranton to Yakima, will be at All Good Books, 734 Hardin Street for a public book signing. And if you're around, you should come out and meet John because he doesn't get to venture down from the broadcast booth at the Fireflies Stadium much. So this is really your opportunity to do that. Lastly, here are the New Brooklyn Tavern events for this week. Tonight, December 4th, open mic night with Sam and the Elia Band. Tuesday, December 5th, Skeetle Remains, Stabbing, Primitive Warfare, Rectoplasm. Friday, December 6th, Ward Davis, and back again on Monday, December 11th, Open Jam, Open Mic Night by Sam and Ilya Band. Check out newbrooklyn.tavern.com for tickets and details, as well as more upcoming shows, links in the show notes. So, Blythewood, South Carolina. Formerly, I didn't know this, and I guess I probably should have just because of how much I love the Rib Festival, but used to be called DOCO. Is that right? Am I pronouncing that correctly?
Yes, DOCO.
What's the history behind DOCO?
So basically, Blythewood was a railroad town.
Okay.
So being a railroad town back in the steam locomotive time, you need what? Water.
Right.
So DOCO is a Native American term, water.
Okay.
So it's a watering place. So that's where Blythewood, originated from, which is DOCO. That was the original name. So, but it was known as a watering place. And today is where it is. We're sitting along the same tracks or the lineup of tracks that were originally here that started this town.
When I arrived, actually, a train came through briefly. So that was okay. So that's really cool. And I mentioned the Rib Fest, which I keep trying to weasel my way into some sort of a vendor sort of thing there because I thoroughly enjoyed. And that doesn't mean I'm not willing to pay to come out. I fully am.
We'll make something happen to get you out here for Rib Fest to do.
You don't. All you have to do is just tell me what weekend it is, and I'll be there. It is one of
sometime in March.
Yes, it is.
Usually the first or second weekend in March.
It is easily one of the most enjoyable events for any of the local Midlands towns. West Columbia has had several music festivals recently that have been really cool. But the Doco Rib Fest, I've been to it now twice, and I wish that it was more often.
Yeah. I'm going to, there's a lot of events that happen in town, but I think Brock would agree with me is Rib Fest is probably one of the premier events that actually really goes well and is sponsored by the chamber. But that's one of the good events that come out of that group, in my opinion, as well as the Big Grab is another one.
Tell me what is the Big Grab?
The Big Grab is a 50-mile yard sale.
That's a good way to describe it. That's a great way to describe it.
It is a 50-mile yard sale.
Okay.
Literally, there's a map. You get the map, and it tells you all through Winsboro, Fairfield County side. It maps all the way back through here, where really the highlight of the Big Grab is on this side of the map. But it is a event by the Fairfield County Chamber of Commerce.
Okay.
It's really hosted by them. We're a recipient of them, mainly probably because we have hotels and things here, and a little bit more support as far as visibility.
Interstate access.
Coming off the interstate.
Yeah.
So, but it's essentially a 50-yard yard sale. So you have tables set up all through town, people selling in and everything. So if you want a deal, you come and get your deal during that weekend. And it's a weekend.
Yeah.
I know people that travel from the upstate of South Carolina down here and stay in the hotels. That's probably brought that one event that we could probably say is probably 70% occupancy at the hotels.
Yeah, it's an event that absolutely drives tourism traffic to the town. It's a Friday, Saturday, and when the Big Grab's in town because former elected officials have made comments of, I'm leaving town simply because the Big Grab is here. I don't really like that message.
No, I'm here.
But
because I'm going to buy some stuff.
Yeah, and I've sold a couple things last year at the Big Grab. I think it's in September.
I'm going to see the tool guy.
Yeah, there's a little something for everybody. You really don't know who and or what is going to show up, and like Sloan said, it's a 50-mile yard sale. It becomes a crawl because people will literally creep down and they see something they want, then they'll pull over, jump out, and then all the cars come back. And it's an interesting event.
Then too, one of the good exciting things, you see people come in with trailers.
Oh yeah,
like 16-foot open, 16-foot enclosed, just because they know they finna get some deals. I got the space. I'm taking it with me right now.
Yeah.
And this event, no matter if it rains, they come with their covers and tarps and cover it up and wait till the rain pass and uncover. Because it stormed this past when it stormed for a little bit.
Yeah.
Cover up, uncover, people coming back.
There was I mentioned before we started recording, we had some farmland up in Kentucky, and come to find out that once a year there would be like a 500 or 1,000-mile yard sale that would go through Kentucky, through in Alabama, and then down, and then would go into Mississippi. Like, it was a ridiculously, I had no idea that went on here in Blythewood or in I guess in this area. That's really neat too.
Hopefully, under this new administration, hopefully we can spark some change up with it, some additions to it, to really keep people here in the center of town a little bit longer. Give them a little something extra to do, maybe some entertainment and food truck vendors out there in the park. So we got room to expand on the events.
So one of the things about being an administration for a small town is it's not a full-time job. Obviously, it's not going to pay the bills. This is a job that you do because you believe in the community, or you want to assist in trying to get your town the best that it can be. But that's just me speaking. What was it that drove you to decide to run for mayor?
Well, I think it has to go all the way back for me, and I'll be real short with this for time, but I think it goes back to number one, my upbringing. So I grew up in a married, mom, dad setting, divorced, but my dad's side of the family was very business oriented. So
Okay.
I grew up in the shoe repair shop. So I grew up shining a cobbler, shoe cobbler. And my dad was here last night, but it's still in the family. So I grew up customer service focused.
Yeah.
So as a kid, there's pictures of me shining shoes on the old-fashioned shoe shine stand. So I have to go all the way back to the childhood upbringing to get to here to the fire service that really launched me into the hemisphere of reality.
Okay.
You know, you're assisting people on their worst day. You have to have top-notch customer service to soothe someone, to make them feel at ease, you know, and actually you can't be faking that job.
Yeah.
They're going to know that you're just saying something just to say it. So my fire service career really, I think, set the tone for me to run for council. Listening to people, I've been the same way since day one. It's people first. So if the citizens have an issue, I have an issue. Let's see how we can resolve that issue. So my whole piece through council has been service to people. People first. Everything else is second, third, fourth, or fifth.
Sure.
And looking at where we are now as a community, we had some issues. We had some things that really showed that, quote unquote, the good boy system, the circle, the chosen circle, is not listening to the constituents of this town. And that's what really made me decide that, hey, it might be good to throw my name in the hat on this. And I done it based off of a lot of people looking at the track record, looking at, hey, you always been the same. You might can't make something happen. They understand that you're one vote, but at least you come out and listen to me. At least you do your best to get me some type of results. There's a lady that called me. I was on a deployment with FEMA, reservist with FEMA. And I was in Tennessee in Nashville, and this lady called me, and at that time I even told Brock, I'm probably just gonna, I'm good. I would have 2 years left on council, and this lady called me. She said, you need to do it. Just straight out, she said, you need to run. And I looked at the results from this election, and it was like the people really wanted us.
Yeah.
They wanted me and Brock to continue to serve. They seen through some of the lens where it was muddy water, and transparency. Where we want full transparency, there were no transparent pieces. The glass panes in town hall was dark, and I told folks we're gonna lighten them up. And I'm looking out a window and it's clear, so I'm like, we back.
I will also acknowledge that, you know, I got here probably a little bit before we were going to start recording, and I was astounded at the number of people that I see mulling around on the grounds over here.
Mm-hmm.
There's a playground very close by. Yes. That so Blythewood, you know, it feels like a very close-knit community.
It is.
So it's you know, it's cool to see that there is an actual, like, citizenry, that there is an actual group of people that take advantage of being able to utilize, like, a playground and whatnot. I
mean, you come out here any given, even in the wintertime, of course, it's not going to be as crowded as it would be in May, June, and July, but we have a great park here.
Yeah.
And we're continuing to build on it. We have the backing of our local legislators on a lot of things that we have added to the park. Our votes on council to move money to always upgrade this park as best as we can. I think under this administration we'll be able to get a little bit more out of it. I think we would be able to add the pieces that's missing: a farmer's market, a splash pad. There's some things that's missing, but we also got another piece that we have that's in the toolbox. We ain't ready to talk about it yet, but it's in the toolbox. We have more land, and we have opportunity to expand.
That's really cool.
Yes.
That's really cool. Well, Brock, this being your second term on city council, what is it that drove you to continue? Because when we first met, I guess it never dawned on me, because you didn't mention it right away, but it didn't dawn on me that you were involved in any politics. Do you feel like it's being on the city council is a political job?
Well, if you'd asked me maybe 3 years ago, I'd have said no. But things have definitely changed and evolved over the last 2.5 years. It got pretty political over the last year to year and a half. Alliances were made. Sloan and I work extremely well together.
Yeah.
We don't, and for anybody that's listening, we don't always agree.
No, not always.
But at the end of the day, we both know the difference in our opinions between right and wrong, what should be done and what shouldn't be done. He mentioned transparency. We have not had transparency for the last 2.5 years on certain issues. People want to figure out what those issues are. It's not hard to figure out. We've been embroiled in lawsuits. And, we've been asked to make decisions, appropriations, money decisions, and then we don't even know where the money's going. And we're
evidence.
No evidence. Just like, you need to vote on this. And we're like, well, what are we voting on? Well, we can't tell you. And we're like, well, what do you mean you can't tell us? Like, we're part of the governing body. So, it got really political over the last year and a half. A little bit on my history. Like, I grew up in Gaffney. Sloan grew up in Greenwood. I did not shine shoes as a kid, which I think is awesome for him, though. It instilled a sense of value. And, I'm sure your dad gave you a little bit of money and stuff like that. So, you earned.
I got enough to buy bubble gum out the machine.
Well, there you go. Whatever it takes. you got some sort of consideration. So, but, I really wasn't all that political. When you're 18, you go vote because you think it's kind of a cool thing that you get to do now.
Well, I hope people go vote.
Well, they should. People should go vote. Once you turn 18, you should go vote. Although I think most kids at that age, they vote for who their parents tell them to. So I don't really know how educated they are.
That's true.
But, I would encourage anybody, go vote. Educate yourself about any of the candidates. Local elections matter more than national elections. People don't realize that, but they do. And so I ran for student body president at USC just to kind of see what that was like. Didn't win. That was okay. Participated in South Carolina student legislator. That was kind of cool. But really didn't even think about getting involved until my family moved to Blythewood in 2016. And at the time, I approached the mayor and said, I want to serve, I want to be involved. And so they placed me on the planning commission. That's actually where I met Sloan. He was also a member of the planning commission. And when I decided to run for council the first time in 17, and I didn't win. I lost by 15 votes. 19, actually, I did win. But the reason to run, I've been asked many times, why did you decide to run for council? And the answer's always been the same. And we're all dads. And my answer was and will continue to be, I wanted to be involved in shaping the community where I was raising my children. I'm not perfect. I'm not the nicest guy. I'm not the meanest guy. But I tend to think that I'm reasonable and fairly level-headed. I'm fiscally conservative. I like to make sure that the town is operating in a prudent way, not just spending all the money or giving all the money, or as we like to say, writing checks to friends.
Yeah.
So that's like my lane, finance and accounting and making sure the budget is balanced. The budget you have to balance the budget by state statute, but there are a lot of holes in our budget where money's just wasted. I mean, we've wasted a lot of money on lawsuits over the last 2.5 years. So, once I decided, hey, I want to run, I got elected, I said, okay, how can I bring positive change or at least status quo at a minimum, which doesn't really help out anybody, in my opinion. But, how can we bring positivity to this community? Because my children are going to be a direct beneficiary of that.
Right.
And I like to think that if I'm making a positive decision for my children, it spans the community, and it's going to be a positive impact for other kids. You mentioned the playground. Those were a couple of things that I'm going to call him Councilman Griffin for a long time till I remember. But the mayor and I, we fought hard to put bump guards in front of the playground so that if there's a loose car, because you're coming in right there, and the dead ends right to the playground.
Right.
We wanted bump guards there, so if for some reason somebody hits gas instead of brake,
It happens.
Hopefully it stops. It happens all the time. We also have the turf, the artificial turf that's on the playground. I pushed for that for almost 1.5 years. We finally got it. The sunshade, I don't know if anybody specifically pushed for that, but we have ADA equipment we're trying to continue to add. Mayor mentioned a splash pad. That's something that we're gonna get that done over the next 4 years. That's in our master plan. But you talk about people coming to town and staying.
Yeah.
Like, put a splash pad out there, and it operates from March to September. Like, Saluda Shoals is always busy.
Yep.
The park at Fort Jackson Water Park,
Yep.
they're always
Yep.
busy. So we have opportunities to improve and maintain this jewel of Blythewood, which a lot of people do know about. The community does come out, and we want to make sure that it's better for them and everybody. We're beneficiaries of this too. My kids will come out and play on the splash pad.
Yep.
Sloan's son will come out and play on the splash pad.
He's on the playground all the time.
Yeah.
So, and this can be for both of you, but what is the vision for Blythewood over the course of the next, I guess, this current administration?
Well, first and foremost, we got some things we got to shore up. We got to get the town back in stable footing out of litigation. And as Councilman Brock alluded to, if people want to go out, they can look that up. It's on the public index, Richland County. Just a side note. But
Circa
just-
2021.
Fifth Circuit.
Fifth Circuit.
Fifth Circuit.
Oh, no.
Fifth Circuit. Richland
No, yeah, it all
County.
started in
Not-
2021.
Yeah, I was gonna say not
Yeah.
under
Yeah.
your administration.
No. So we're not making excuses.
Sure.
So I think this is important for folks to hear, that you will never hear this administration, as it sits right now, make excuses and say, well, that was under another administration.
Right.
We knew the problems when we said we wanted to run. We knew the problems when we seen on the news that we won. We knew the problems last night when we got sworn in. And last night, how we're set here under the strong mayor form of government, I set the agenda. And I set that agenda last night to show the voters, the citizens of Blythewood, that we mean business on day one coming in here. We can celebrate afterwards, as we did. We had a good time celebrating with our residents last night. But I, Councilman Brock, and now Councilwoman Fripp, wanted to show the voters, the citizens of Blythewood, even if they didn't vote for us, that we mean what we say. We're walking in here and we're going to take care of business. And that happened last night. So you talk about a vision, it started last night. Being honest. I made a point to say that there's nothing hidden. If you want to see a book, you're going to see a book. If you want to see the invoices, you're going to see the invoices.
Yeah.
I believe that the town and its government belongs to the people. And I want to make sure that it's back in the people's hands. So we have some housekeeping things that we have to take care of first. Now, once we complete those housekeeping things, and I'm really making that real fast, real fast. I think Councilman Brock will agree to that even today, within 24 hours, not even 24 hours, we're making headway. But now we got things like the park. I alluded to, Councilman Brock alluded to, we have things in the park that we can continue to do, the splash pads. So I want to make sure that we're back to the business of the people.
Sure.
There's things that needed to be done. We have road projects going on. We need to monitor those road projects. We have the Scout Motors project. We need to make sure that those citizens that were in protest for the Scout project, that they're able to get answers to their questions. We have land that we're currently on layaway.
We say that. Yeah. we have a payment plan.
Yeah, we on a payment plan for some land. And I
You
know-
laugh, but
no,
No,
it's
no.
you
real.
laugh, but it's legit. We have a piece of dirt on layaway,
Yeah,
and
Kmart.
yeah.
So, and I know Councilman Brock and myself, we never wanted to do that piece there. So we're going to have to figure out some things to really get on that. And it's not much, but to get ahead of that, and then we can start working on the master plan for that. So we're ahead of the curve on things when it comes to vision. We want to make sure that this community is safe.
How do you all take in information from the community? Both of you were councilmen before, and
So I'm sorry, I'll make sure Councilman Brock get in on this as well, but I'm going to say this too, how there was no true system of how
okay,
to really engage community members outside of them calling us individually. There was a survey done, what was it, 2 years ago maybe?
It had to have been over 2 years because
Maybe
Councilman
3.
Kendrick was still on Planning Commission.
He was. So
yeah,
it
so it was
had to
over
be
2
3.
years ago.
So about 3 years ago, now Councilmember Kendrick was sitting on the Planning Commission, and he headed up a survey, and that survey gave us some good starting points. But as I said, that was great, but we're now about 4 years into it, so we have to re-engage this population to see, are we headed in the right direction? So we need tools to assist us with that. And coming out of the former administration, we didn't have the tools to really properly engage the community because we were so focused on litigation. Mm-hmm. So now that's what I mean. We're taking care of the house. One of my first comments after winning was, I got to clean up our own house before I move outside and tell the citizens how we're going to do this and that.
Yeah.
So I'm moving fast, and this is a great time to move fast when things are kind of slowed down for the holidays, so we can take care of internal things. So the first of the year, we're moving forward on those things. But the first of the year, this is one of the vision pieces on how to reach people. We're going to have tools so that we can text folks. I'm going back to my emergency management day.
Yeah,
Sure.
you ask about communication. He can cover this because this is his lane. This is his area of expertise. You got my support, but he gonna say, this is what we're gonna do, and here's why, and this is how much it's gonna cost. So I'm gonna be like, that's your area.
And
Go
see,
forth.
that's the good thing about us.
Yeah.
We respect each other's
Yeah.
expertise in this. I'm not an accountant, so I'm going to look at him and say, look, this is what I'm thinking. Does this make sense?
Yeah.
You know, I have common sense when it comes to finances. I don't want to drain my personal finances on something that doesn't make sense. So I'm going to make sure that I always lean on the experts. As an emergency manager, that's what I do.
Yeah.
I make decisions based on what the experts are telling me, and I have that final say-so over it. But communication, I want to treat this communication with our citizens like I do with emergency messaging. We can text. We can set surveys up to text out. Here's a link. Sign up. We don't even have internal in the town, and we rely on the county so much, but we're a government.
Yeah.
And citizens look to us to lead. We need to make sure that we're signing them up for weather alerts, which entails giving them alerts to us here. So we have citizens say, we don't know when y'all meet. We can send that out to you in a text. It'll call you, text, or email. So there's going to be some exciting communication pieces. We can redo that survey in the same form. We can send it out. Businesses will be in that directory so that if there's boil water advisories that come down, because we split between Winsboro Water, Columbia Water, we can properly send those out to the businesses.
Yeah.
The residents will get that as well. So there's some things in the communication pot that I'm excited to see come to fruition, and it won't take long. But it's like I said, we coming out of the mud.
Yeah.
And we can see now we have leaders in place that understand that let's put this behind us. Let's get back to the business of the people. And that's what I'm excited to see.
Yeah, it didn't even occur to me y'all being downwind from Jenkinsville too.
Yeah, because I work in Fairfield County. I'm
Okay.
the deputy director for emergency management full time. So I deal with the Jenkinsville, the VC Summer piece of it.
Yeah.
So we're downwind, depending on which way the wind blows. But, to make sure that we understand.
It makes it a little uncomfortable recognizing that they've had, 6 earthquakes in the past 3 weeks over there?
We had one yesterday.
Yeah. I mean,
Last
it's,
night.
I get email. Did you feel it?
No.
No?
But I get it because I manage 911.
Yeah. Oh,
So
okay.
I see when I came in this morning.
Yeah. It's
been steady over there.
It's I camp on Lake Monticello. So
You fish?
no. Well, okay. I have thrown a line into a lake once or twice. Technically, in order to say you fish, you catch.
Okay.
And, I think fish stay off of my line just out of spite. But yeah, no, it's So Blythewood is, and you mentioned Fairfield County. Blythewood is in Richland and Blythewood, or in Fairfield.
Yeah.
A sliver,
It's
yes.
a little slither of it, which we definitely have room to expand, and I guess that question would lead into annexation.
Yeah.
Oh, it's interesting he says that. I'm not to interrupt,
No.
but I'm going to interrupt. 4 years ago,
I'm gonna let him
me write that
interrupt.
down. He
I'm
admitted
not
it
going to
this time.
interrupt, but I'm going to interrupt. Yeah,
He's
write that down.
interrupting the mayor.
It's all right.
I still
We're
love
all
you
off
the same.
I would say we're all off the clock, but you're never.
We're
technically
never off the clock.
Yeah.
We in town hall.
Yeah, we are. Yeah, we are in
I'm
town
not
hall.
gonna sign your check.
I can sign my own checks.
Oh,
You got the same email I got earlier today. Actually,
Yeah.
I can't. Neither of us can sign checks yet. We got to take care of that.
Not yet.
But
It's fraud right now.
jeez. Oh,
Cut
gosh.
that out.
Yeah, cut it out.
Yeah, edit all this
Edit
out.
that out.
But he mentioned annexation. 4 years ago, annexation was a hot button topic during the election, and former Councilman Ballman, myself, Mayor Griffin, and one other person ran, and I'm drawing a blank. Anywho, myself and Councilman Ballman got in, and at the time, the former mayor Franklin was on council, and he ran and got elected mayor, and so that opened up an empty seat, special election, and that's when Councilman Sloan became Councilman Griffin. He ran. So, like I say, we have the same amount of experience on council. I've got him by like 3 months. Big whoop. As an accountant, that's not material over 4 years. So, but annexation, to get back, was a kind of a hot button topic, and we all talked about annexation because if you look at if you look at a map of Blythewood, it's very kind of splotchy. I mean, it's not like a Jackson Pollock painting, but it kind of fingers out and just kind of, it doesn't have like you have a dot where and then like a radius around it, or I guess that's what circumference.
Sure. Yeah.
I never did very well in
Geometry.
geometry. No, I didn't actually take geometry in high school. So, yeah, I think the radius is from the middle to the side.
same age.
See?
I didn't take geometry. No, I took algebra 1, 2,
Okay.
pre-calc,
Okay.
calc.
Trig.
Yeah.
I know I never took that either. That was geometry, trigonometry. No, I never took that. Anywho,
I was applied mathematics in college, so it was,
then you should know what the outside of the circle like. I think it's circumference. But anywho, so the map of Blythewood is just very odd. It's just kind of spreads out, just kind of like if you spilled water or something. It just goes all over the place.
okay.
So the only, now that, the mayor mentioned the Scout project, that basically is taking away about 14, 15, 1,600 acres
Yes.
of developable land in Blythewood. That was like really the last large tract of land that could be developed in Blythewood, and it's going to the largest economic development project in Richland County history,
Yeah.
which is good. This is going to be a good thing. I've been a supporter of Scout. I'm going to get him on board eventually. He
we'll talk about that.
He wasn't a non-supporter.
I never. So my non-support votes on Scout.
He voted no for
I voted no twice.
for some rezoning, not no for the project.
Okay.
But it's because of the lack of information shared with the people, and I just I ran on. I'm for the people, by the people. So the people told me how they feel. That's how I voted.
And that's fine.
But it's no, and that's what he meant earlier. We don't always agree.
Yeah, we don't always agree.
Things, but we understand that. Hey, we understand that it's going to provide jobs. I said that. I know it's going to provide jobs. It's going to move some people from the microwave meals to a ribeye steak at Texas Roadhouse or somewhere. It's going to provide those opportunities for some families to improve their lives. But as I always said, I don't work for Scout. I work for the people.
Right.
So that's where my no votes are. But no.
But anyways, getting back to annexation, Blythewood is for lack of a better term, basically fully developed. A lot of people say Blythewood's a small town. I always counter that and say Blythewood was a small town until I-77 cut it in half. If you look at the layout of the town, 77 runs right down the middle of the town. It was basically a collection of neighborhoods, mostly for retirees.
Okay, yeah.
Because you were within 15 minutes of Columbia. You're 50 minutes or so south of Charlotte, Rock
the
Hill.
VA hospital.
Yeah, you're close. You get all the
Jackson.
amenities of a big city, but you kind of live in the country. A lot of people fancy Blythewood as horse country. There's a lot of horse farms. People used to ride horses through town. Well, 77 kind of put an end to all that. Because with interstate comes what? Interstate commerce.
Yeah.
Your businesses. Once the McDonald's moved in, it was like, oh no, now the town's going away. No, you don't necessarily have to lose your small town charm because you get amenities that people want. We got a grocery store. You got about a pharmacy, you got the post office, so on and so forth. But the mayor and I realized that a ridiculous percent, I mean, it's got to be high. It's got to be 90-95% of Blythewood is developed. There's a few larger tracts that I can think of. And when I say large, we're talking less than 100 acres.
Yeah, it's like 90 acres.
Yeah, there's a couple parcels in town that
90s.
haven't been developed, but almost everything is. It's either residential, soon to be industrial or assembly, and a splattering of commercial, retail. But the only true way to grow our town is going to be through annexation. Now, ask me, since annexation was a hot button topic 4 years ago, ask me how many pieces the prior administration annexed into the town in the last 4 years.
In the last 4
Come on,
years.
Drum roll.
How many? How much annexation?
How many
was there?
properties?
How many parcels?
How many parcels
yeah.
was there?
One.
One. How large was it?
290 acres, and it's only because it had to be annexed into, we annexed some pieces into, it may be more than one parcel, but it was a few pieces of the Scout project were annexed into the town so that one governing body can oversee the permitting. Permitting and development. That's the only reason.
Yep.
Otherwise, the answer would be zero.
Yeah.
And what's crazy, though, is during that time when we first got on and it was a hot topic, Councilman Brock and myself were trying to figure out, because we don't have policy for annexation. Where's policy with state statute? We're still learning, as we still are today.
Absolutely.
We're never going to stop learning, but we were trying to figure out where's the policy? How do you go about it? And I think the old perceived way from the outgoing administration to that administration was, if you wanted your property annexed, you just come to the town council meeting and they vote on it.
Yeah, you fill out a form,
you
you petition the council, then
and
I don't think anybody's ever been turned
but
away.
I think under Mayor Bailey's administration, he actually had someone going out knocking on doors, asking people to annex. So that's what grew the town, because Cobblestone wasn't even in the town limits under Keith Bailey administration, and it's right there.
Interesting.
So his administration had someone on staff in charge of annexation. But going back to the policy document, we didn't have any document. So to not reinvent the wheel, I mean, we looked at other municipalities in the state that were top rated in annexation. We looked at their policy and their guide. Why not? Why not adopt that as part of Blythewood? We did adopt that policy, but we never used that policy.
Okay. Well, on annexation, I live on the outskirts of West Columbia, and I live similarly on the outskirts of Lexington. I actually live in a neighborhood where my neighbors have been annexed. We live in the same neighborhood, but my neighbors directly behind me were annexed into Lexington. which means, of course, that they pay Lexington city property or city taxes and things like that. The police department is who would respond to 911 calls. But I have been a proponent of that because I live less than 2 minutes from fire station and EMS, and there is also a Lexington substation, which is fairly close as far as police, and my property taxes would go up considerably. That would frustrate me because I benefit from the things that are available through the county, but Blythewood and Lexington are two different towns.
Absolutely. One of the major differences is
tell it.
we don't have a millage.
No, we don't.
So if an individual annexes their parcel into the town, their property tax does not go up at all.
Yeah.
Yep. And we cannot petition the legislator because per state statute 0 times 0 gets you.
Yeah, we
what?
can't
You can
we can't
only
raise
go
a
up
millage.
times
There's
what your millage, your current millage is, and ours being 0.
There's some legal theory that we actually could challenge. Act 388. That's the one that basically caps the amount of increase you can do on a millage. Well, there was a couple of councils ago, I don't remember. They eliminated the millage in Blythewood. So you're at 0. You can only raise it, let's just say 6%, 8%, or 6 or 8 mills or something. I don't know. I haven't read the act. Well, we're at 0, so it doesn't matter what percentage you can raise it. 0 times whatever is still 0. So, and in my opinion, from a finance perspective, Blythewood doesn't need to institute a millage to raise revenue. We really don't offer any services. No. EMS is provided by the county. Fire is provided by the city. Police is provided by the county. Water is provided by, like you said, City of Columbia or Town of Winsboro. So Blythewood doesn't
trash
services. I guess contracted out through the county. Probably waste management, but we don't have any services that are needed to initiate any sort of revenue. And if we're good stewards of the funds, and stop wasting it, whether giving it away or litigation, we're financially sound. A lot of people like to say that all the prior administrations have done a good job of keeping the town fiscally sound. To a certain extent, that may be true, but when you don't have major expenses, you don't really need a lot of revenue to cover them. Scout Motors is going to bring in a significant amount of revenue for the town. It will attract additional businesses. We live and breathe a lot of it off of hospitality and accommodations tax. So between Scout Motors and the people that follow these places, more rooftops are built in town, or we annex some neighborhoods. That doesn't add a dime to our coffers. But the businesses that flow in, that we can, or the potential businesses that we can annex in, that will add to our coffers. But other than some people saying, "Oh, I don't want to be annexed into the town," we don't see a lot of downside. Yeah. It's a lot easier to approach. We may go to dinner tonight, and if we're sitting in a restaurant and somebody walks up to Mayor Griffin, or they walk up to me and say, "Hey, I saw you on the newspaper." I seem to make the newspaper a lot for various reasons. Depending on which newspaper
Front
you read,
page.
you might get a different story. But they can walk up to us, and we're in a small community. They can say, "Hey, I have a question about this." Sure, have a seat. At the county level, they're in districts. You may see somebody that's a county council member. If you're in our district, you may or may not get their ear.
Yeah.
Like, I can tell you that people will. I definitely know people approach Sloan. He's like the most popular person in his neighborhood.
Pretty tall too, so I imagine they.
No.
But
I can't hide.
the access to your elected representatives in a small town is just uncanny. And in the county, you're one of, I don't know how many people are in Richland County, several 100,000.
Yeah.
But in Blythewood, you're one of about 5,500, 5,500, which is up like 110% or whatever over the last census, which I think was like 2,900, or maybe a little less than that. Don't quote me on the numbers, but we're accessible.
Yeah,
you can walk in this town hall, and if there's anybody you want to talk to, whether it be staff, whether it be members of council, you can get in touch with us. I know that there are people that have called us, and our staff relay those messages. Somebody called you. This is their number. Please call them back. Sure, no problem. And we do that. Yep. So and accessibility is a huge reason, I think, for a lot of people to consider annexation. It's not going to cost you anything. Your services are not going to change.
And two, you know, that other piece of accessibility is now social media. We active on social media.
Yeah.
So you can get us either way. I had a lady last night say, man, you even respond at 2 a.m. in the morning.
Oh,
like,
goodness.
You know, but
He shouldn't be. He should be
No, I
sleeping.
should be asleep, but I'm preparing some things for the next day in the office sometime if I can't sleep.
Sure.
But, you know, and I'll check, and then somebody message, you know, hey, message them back, you know, and don't provide that fluff. We go straight to it. We're not going to give you 3 paragraphs of fluff history, and no, let's get an answer.
Yeah. One of the terms that you used a little bit earlier was a strong mayor.
Mm-hmm.
So that is the type of council that Blythewood is, a strong mayor.
Yeah. So
How far does what is the reach of, or what is the reach that you consider being the council being run as a strong mayor council?
well, essentially, the strong mayor form of government is, for layman's terms, the mayor can hire, fire. The mayor is the CEO of the town, so the mayor directs staff here in the manor. Councilman Brock and the other members on council are the legislative body members, so they're policy-driven body. So there's things that I can do here in this house as far as day-to-day operations of staff that I don't have to run back through council to say, hey, I want to create this job right here. You know, I don't have to necessarily get that permission from them. I don't have to, if I'm going to terminate someone outside of, there's some key positions.
There's 4.
Yep. There's some key positions. I can't terminate the administrator, the clerk, the attorney, and what's my 4th one?
It would be the municipal judge if
Yep,
we have
if we
one,
had
but we
one.
don't have a
We don't
municipal
have a
judge.
municipal
Richland County
judge.
provides that.
Okay.
Yep. So we don't have that. So outside of that, you know, if I wanted to petition to terminate one of those 4 members, which 3 of what we have, I would have to go back to council and say, you know, I want to terminate this person, and here's why. And I would have to have majority vote, maybe a super majority.
I think it's just simple majority for that.
But, you know, we really haven't had to deal with that piece.
Sure.
And I hope we don't. But essentially, like I said, the strong mayor is kind of is the CEO of the town, so he's running day-to-day operations. I'll set the agenda items for that month's meeting. You know, one thing about me, I'm a fair guy. I will consult back with council when I do set that agenda. I want to make sure that they're not surprised. I want to make sure they have time to do their research so that they know what they're voting on. So there's some things that we didn't really get in the last administration. I want to make sure that we get. I know because I was a council member, so I know how it feels. And, you know, my door is open. Yeah, I want definitely Councilman Brock and myself, we talk every day.
Yeah.
The other members on council, I want them to know that my door is open. So any concerns or issues, let's move on that. But that the strong mayor form of government is different from our surrounding municipalities. They have more of a council manager council form of government. They have a city town manager that basically directs all the day-to-day pieces there, and they're the legislative body. So we are different, but as you said earlier, we are part-time.
Yeah.
There's no full-time members, legislative members here.
Yeah. What sort of collaborating do you all in previous administrations do you all do with other municipalities around?
So it's funny you said that. So I think after me and let me answer that first. None. All right, simple. None. We really hadn't had any type of collaborations as a group. Now conversations individually, yes, we all have good relationships. Me and Councilman Brock have outstanding relationships with county officials, even some city of Columbia legislators at the state house, and then some of our federal representation. So we always have had good communication, me and Councilman Brock, with those folks to be able to get things done.
Yeah.
But if you're talking about as a whole, no. You talk about bringing them in to show our county representatives. We have 2 that really covers Blythewood as we sit right now. If we annex them, may add 1. But and then our state house officials, we have never had really a quote unquote summit to show them where we at, to basically get them on board on some of these other bigger projects that we need help with. I'm hoping to change that. I'm hoping to bring them in at least once a year, maybe twice after we get it started, so that they understand our vision. They understand that, hey, we need a sports complex. How are we going to get here? So that those bigger pools of money can be positioned to the appropriate place for this town. So at this current moment, no. But tomorrow, I can answer that and say yes. And I can tell you this, that those members are excited.
Oh, good.
Since winning, both of us winning, they are excited. They know that we are all inclusive on our moves and our vision, and they want to be a part of it. Northeast is booming, and they want to be a part of that conversation.
You mentioned a sports complex. I read that baseball is the number 1 sport over in this area.
Historically.
Historically,
I would say that is accurate. There are other sports that are catching a little bit of lightning in the bottle.
Are we talking about pickleball?
No,
that is one. No,
yes,
actually,
I don't play pickleball, but yes, you're actually right. Pickleball is a sport has certainly caught the lightning in the bottle.
Yeah.
Soccer is working its way up through Blythewood and becoming a little more popular.
Okay.
I
know there's
Warner football.
Yeah. There's at least 2 teams now in Pop Warner. I know that girls softball is also becoming more and more popular. So there's an array of sports. When people say a sports complex, they tend to think of like 4 baseball fields with a pagoda in the middle. Well, I mean that.
But that's the picture we have. Well, I'm saying the administration, we've been more focused on baseball. But I think for me and Councilman Brock, we said if you saying a sports complex, we encompassing a little bit of everything here.
We need multi-use fields because you do. Unless you've got a major stadium like a Yankee Stadium where you can convert it to play football, or they could probably do lacrosse or anything on a field, you're limited to what you can do in that 4 fields with the pagoda or whatever in the middle. So while I'm not opposed to having like a small portion of a complex, we need fields or potentially some sort of rec center that has the opportunity for other sports. I mean, I know that there's a youth basketball league that plays at Trinity. I know that there are kids all the way at the rec center.
Cobblestone.
Yeah, and then Blythewood Park, which is run by Richland County Rec. They have leagues of basketball in there. So, I would say Blythewood is a sports community with a emphasis on baseball historically, but there are more and more kids that are starting to play other sports, and we've got to kind of cater to. I really believe we have to kind of cater to everybody. It can't just be one sport.
I have to add something. I know a lot of times we're a community of many. We're a community of young professional families. We're a community of seniors. We say if you come out here to this park in the morning, and you probably seen people walking tonight, those are seniors walking.
Yeah.
There'll be a large group of seniors in the morning at daybreak walking out here. One of my things I do want to add to the vision is a senior center. We need something that seniors can come out and enjoy the company of other seniors in a safe environment, a resource center for those seniors out here. So it encourages them to get out and walk, encourages them to be in groups. Maybe they find some friends that like to knit. Maybe it's a bingo hour every Tuesday and Thursday.
I'm totally going to run in one day and just yell bingo, and then they'll all get mad and run out.
I'm coming to play. I'm going to win. But,
I don't want to sound ageist, but I don't know that they all heard you if you did.
Oh,
Sorry. All right,
oh
sorry.
Lord.
No,
But I mean, we have a little bit of everything here. So
Take
you
it seriously.
no.
yeah, I know.
Yeah.
See,
I had
They
grandparents.
take it seriously.
but we need to just make sure that in those vision pieces, we talk about a sports complex that can encompass senior activities as well.
Yeah.
It has
in
to.
those complex, and the visions that's been talked about never have really encompassed the senior aspects of this community. So, we're not gonna forget about that. And there are some things I did recently after the election that really made me think about that. I experienced going to a senior center and playing bingo. And I was sitting there and they was excited to have, a fresh-faced young man walk in. They didn't even know I was the mayor. I didn't come in there as the mayor. And there were newspapers right there with my face on it. And I'm just Sloan. I showed up. To register them for weather alerts to their phone for my full-time job. And I said, what y'all doing? Oh, we finna play bingo, so hurry up and register us so we can play. And I was like, okay. So my director was with me, and she did all that. And she said, what you doing? I got a bingo card and a cup of the chips. And I had 2 bingo cards because I told them I was going to double win. And it was funny to sit there and experience that. And they had to teach me, like, cake. We're going to do cake layering. I was like, what is cake layering? We're going to do, X-Man. What is X-Man? Oh, we got to teach this young man our senior games, But I knew what it was, but it gave them excitement to come and teach me.
Yeah.
They came, this was what you do. Let me sit with you because you don't know what you're doing. And that made me think about, we all talking about sports, and let's not forget about them. So I can't wait to really look at that with these new pieces of property that we got. One being the swamp. It's dumb.
That's what I named it. It's stuck.
The swamp.
The swamp.
Oh yeah, we call it swamp.
And I want to let him talk about that in a second. But then the other one, so that we make sure we encompass all that. Swamp, man.
Swamp. It's not.
Tell
It's
me
not.
about the
It's not the
swamp.
swamp where the Gators play. No, but but
They didn't
the
play
mayor
there
the
this year.
mayor's right. There was a lot of emphasis paid on sports and catering to youth, and to an extent, he's right because this community is changing, and we represent that change. Like, I moved out here so that my children could go to Richland 2 schools because I lived in downtown Columbia. He got, I think, stationed here one time on.
Yep, I came here during the 2015 floods with FEMA.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that was the first year I had Comic-Con, by the way, that weekend. That was my
yeah.
first weekend, the Great
Yeah.
Flood. Yeah, well, anywho. But, and he moved here and has young wife and young child. And those families are what's reshaping Blythewood.
Yeah.
But he's right. Blythewood was initially a retirement community. And if you look at the average age of the voters, and you can pull all the data, I think the last time I looked at it of kind of the active voter, it's about 65 years old.
Yes, sir.
That number over time should continue to come down.
Right.
The mix of voters, whether it be males, females, whether it be whites, blacks, Hispanics, those numbers are going to slowly start getting closer together because this community it's changing. So while there is a lot of emphasis on youth sports, they say sports keeps kids off the streets. It's true, statistically speaking. It's true. If kids left to their own devices bring embarrassment upon their parents,
Yeah.
something like that. Well, if kids have something to do, they're not going to go out and do things that they shouldn't do. But you can't focus all your resources on one pocket of the community and forget about everybody else because, they're here too. Eventually, I'm going to be that senior.
Right.
Sloan's going to be that senior. You're already that senior.
Wow.
Oh,
Yeah.
boom.
Shots fired, right?
That's where we insert a wah wah.
No, obviously not. But he's right. Like and you've got to find that balancing act. How do you bring? Because resources are limited, and especially in a small town. We have a budget that I think our budget this year is about $5 million. But if you strip out a one-time exception, it's about $3 million. And so our budget's slowly going to increase because we're going to continue to generate additional hospitality, accommodations, local options, sales tax, business licenses, permits, stuff like the things that if anybody wants to be bored to death, we can tell you about during budgeting. And our revenues are slowly increasing, and they will, like you said, when Scout comes online and some of the other businesses that follow, we will be a beneficiary of that. So you've got to take the resources that you have, which are limited, and appropriate them in the areas where it serves everybody, not just one, pocket of the community or one demographic. You know, and that's what we want to do. And And it just people think that initially all of a sudden that everything's just going to be changed and great. No, when you change over administrations, you inherit the problems from the past administration. People don't think that I've got time, I can catch up. No, you hit the ground running on day one. You don't get to crawl. I mean, you got to start running. And there's a lot of OJT with this. He learned, I learned, and we're still learning. So He mentioned we got to clean up some of the house. Yeah, and we're going to clean it up fast so that we can actually get back to the jobs that we should have been doing for the past 4 years. And that is focusing on youth. That is focusing on our seniors and the people in the middle too. If we had a center that had like a gym or a walking track or something like that, I'd absolutely come, especially when it's 30 degrees outside.
Right. Yes.
And the people out there walking out at the park tomorrow morning or Friday morning or whenever the walkers get together. I'm quite sure on nasty rainy days or cold days or ridiculously hot days, they might choose to walk inside. They may not. That's okay. But they still need to have that choice.
Right. Yeah. No, I absolutely agree. Any other goals or initiatives that you all are looking to accomplish during this term?
I'll go first and I'll let him follow up. Just want to touch a little bit on vision. A vision like his vision for the town. It can be more than just a deliverable. Sure. It has to be philosophical. People say, one of the questions that I was asked at my debate forum, whatever you want to call it, is, what are you going to do to improve economic recruitment or to spur economic development in the town? And I'm like, that's a ridiculous question. I don't think I actually said that, but I thought that in my head. But that was a ridiculous question, and it was kind of a bad question to ask, because the answer clearly was, it's already here. Like by landing the Scout project, we have the economic driver for the future. Our job will be to enhance and ensure that A, that's successful, ensure that B, the ancillary that comes along with it, i.e. additional business, whether it be retail, restaurant, commercial, OEMs that support the assembly of the vehicles, make sure that's successful. That's our economic plan. It's not that we have to go out and find something. It found us, or Richland County Economic Development did that. So, I think part of the vision, other than having deliverables like the splash pad in the park, that's a deliverable. You can go put your hands on it.
Right.
But there's more to a vision than just saying, hey, we built a splash pad. That's great. People can see it. But philosophically, how you can move the town collectively forward for the benefit of everybody, either through policy, deliverables, economic development, that encompasses the vision. And, if we can accomplish half of what we want to do, then it'll be a huge home run.
Yeah.
You're never going to be able to accomplish everything.
Sure.
Just like you can't make everybody happy.
Nope.
But I think that, you get your team in place and you get everybody rowing, hopefully everybody rowing in the same direction, and you don't get bogged down with litigation and infighting and accusations and finger pointing, then, it sets up for a very successful run.
Yeah.
And it can be as long as the people want to keep us here.
Okay.
Quality of life is what I would say. Everything Councilman Brock said is absolutely true, so I won't rehash it. He said it perfect. I'll just add in quality of life. Making sure that our citizens hold that vision to their heart, making sure that they understand that we support them, that we're here to ensure their safety and well-being. So providing that quality of life, working with our school system to make sure that they have tools in place. Maybe we have some relationships that can help them in some decision making. Enhancing law enforcement. As we grow, unfortunately, crime grows. So making sure that we have a working relationship with the Richland County Sheriff's Office as we grow, potential for unsafe activities with fire safety. We need to make sure that our fire department is growing with us. Car manufacture, whether electric or combustible, there's a potential there. We need to make sure that we have response capabilities here for this community. So, you start talking a vision, that gets real big, real quick. I think that folks are excited. I think they're electrified right now. They see the change. They know, they believe in us to push a vision. We're going to have to push a new vision. We're going to do some workshops starting at the first of the year to recultivate that vision, so that we're on this new track. When it was done before, we didn't have a Scout Motors here. It was still the same train moving down the track. Scout Motors coming here, good or bad to the citizens, will change things.
Yeah.
And where I'm concerned right now, as far as sitting in this seat, is making sure that you have a solid leader to sit there and have these upfront, frank conversations with these industries coming in, that they understand that you're here, but we need to make sure that you're investing in this community.
Yeah.
So, the investments are here as far as if you want to talk about I-77 infrastructure pieces to upgrade, the train head coming across the interstate, the penny taxes taking care of the roads that you see now going on in that construction. But we need to make sure that these industries coming in know that, okay, we have within our vision, we have some deliverables. And just for example, we have a deliverable of a sports complex with the senior center. Help us deliver this. You're our neighbor. You found us. So be a good steward, be a good neighbor, support this community, support the need. So, and I'm just using that one as an example.
Yeah.
But we have some work to do.
And just to echo that, like one little quick thing, people have to understand, and I hope they do, that a deliverable it isn't necessarily something that just pops up overnight. No. Like he says, we are going to lean on companies like Scout and others that move into this community to invest back into this community. We may say, you know what, we want A, B, C, and D, and they may say, all right, we can support you with A and B, and we can C and D, or can be put on the back burner, or you take the long game. Yeah. So one thing we talked about throughout this entire process is splash pad. We can do that.
Yeah,
that's easy. That's easy. We can get that done. A complex might take a longer time.
Sure.
But if you can lay the foundations and put the process in place,
right,
then we may say, all right, it's not this. You're not going to have this wonderful complex in the next 4 years, but in year 1, you're going to see this. In year 2, you're going to see this. In year 3, you're going to see this. In year 4, we're going to see this. And even if we aren't around after our 4-year terms, there'll be enough substantial progress where it gets finished. It gets finished.
It's building, it's creating, and then building on that momentum, so that you can't that even after you, someone can't turn around and say, we're going to scrap that.
No.
Yeah.
That's I genuinely understand that. I will also say, and this is pretty close to ending, but one of the things I think that Blythewood also benefits from, and I assume you have a TikTok. Okay, fair enough.
Yes.
I don't have a TikTok, but I'll watch videos on TikTok.
So one of the things that I see frequently with TikTok are the videos of the places in South Carolina not to live. And Blythewood has never been on that list.
That's good to know.
That's really good. I watched that list too.
Oh, you do? I'm not familiar with this.
Yes.
So absolutely congratulations on that, because even though you've only been mayor for 24 hours.
Yep.
It is.
One day.
And you've both been councilmen for almost 4 years or so. that is something that is an accomplishment, because there are a lot of places in South Carolina that are nationally recognized as places that you don't visit.
Yeah.
You don't want to live. And
Now you've piqued my curiosity.
No, that's a
I'll
real
forward it to
list,
you.
though.
Yeah.
That's real.
yeah.
Now, I'm about to get you to send it to me.
Because wasn't Columbia on there?
Oh, Columbia's on there.
Yeah, I didn't want to say this.
Columbia's on there. You got there's Myrtle Beach is on there.
It is.
Well, that's no surprise.
Orangeburg is on
Yeah.
there. And
Yeah.
I'm not going to say some of the other low country
Some-
towns, because I've got scheduled interviews with their
Yeah,
mayors
don't
and
go
council
down
member
there.
too. So,
Yeah, I ain't gonna say no more. But I seen that list.
yeah.
But there's also a list of places to live.
Yeah.
So, so hopefully with this new project, we're in the eye now.
Yeah.
So I'm sure those TikTokers that come through, I'm sure they looking.
Yeah.
And I'm sure they're looking at statistics and doing some research. And I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised if we make that list to live.
I will say that especially with the festivals and the events that go on in and around Blythewood, it makes it absolutely one of the places to visit. And honestly, the park is beautiful. I mean, the park is right next here to the town hall, and it's a really nice place to visit. And I have coworkers that live in Blythewood, so it's I'm originally from Atlanta. That was where I was born and raised. I moved here when I was 20.
Atlanta.
Yeah, and there is absolutely a benefit to raising my children in a place in and around Columbia, and I consider West Columbia and Blythewood, and these are places that I see the local governments taking advantage of the what is available, and building on top of what's been built previous administrations and things like that. So it's very beneficial to everyone around. So the last thing I'll ask both of you before we wrap it up is, how long do you potentially see you participating in this political arena, and is this your last step? Oh, Brock's
I'm going to
first.
default to my
Oh,
mayor
go.
pro tem first.
So, how long ago was it, Sloan? Year ago?
I thought you were going to say 24 hours.
No.
I know where you're going.
Less than a year ago, there was an ordinance on the books in the town for the town of Blythewood that stated that you could not serve more than 2 consecutive terms. And so basically it mirrored the constitutional restrictions of the office of the governor, which is the only office that is restricted by statute,
Right.
or the Constitution in this case. So we had a member of council who's no longer here that felt compelled to run for a third term, and he did run.
In spite of the
Well,
he
the
gonna
ordinance was deemed unconstitutional by
see.
basically by an AG opinion. And so what the council did was that ordinance was basically overturned. I think I might have been the only one, or I don't know how Sloan, I don't remember how Sloan voted. I know I voted no, because I actually like the idea of term limits. I think government can become stale if you have the same people with the same archaic ideas in every single election. You look at our state house, and I like our state representatives, and you look at our federal representatives on the House side, they're running for re-election every 2 years.
Right.
So they get elected, they serve for a year, and then they have to essentially start running for re-election the next year.
Agreed.
And so, I kind of joke, like, a politician's first job is to get elected, their second job is to get re-elected, and their third job is to serve the people. If you ask me today if I was going to run for a third term, I'd say no, because I like the idea of term limits. May I change my mind in 4 years? Possibly. I'll have an 11th grader and a 9th grader at that time, and I don't know. You'd probably asked me 3 months ago if I was going to run for council, and I'd have also
Say
said
no.
no. So,
said no.
things change. But a lot of it will depend on the next 4 years, how successful we can be, because we clearly have momentum. We're clearly set up for success, and we'll just have to wait and see. My gut says no, but if we can knock it out of the park and people are like, we want you to stick around and stay, okay.
Yeah. So serve based on how well things go and if there is a continued need.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get that.
If I have to, I'm not gonna be long-winded on this. I'm not focused on re-election.
Okay.
I'm focused on making sure that we move forward. So you may have to come back and ask me that at 3.5.
I will be perfectly willing
come
to
back
do that.
and ask me about year 3.
Okay.
Where I feel. But right now, 24 hours in, re-election is not on the topic of my 4-year down the road.
Sure.
I'm more focused on the priorities that need to be dealt with right now.
Well,
Not to give him a cheap plug, but when you're elected 70-30 and you beat your opponent by 40 points, if you do well, the people are going to want you to come back.
well, and I'll just warn you, both of you, if there are aspirations for potentially seeking an office that has longer fingers, I will just say that, and I speak for my audience,
Yes.
that you both, and I've known Brock longer, of course,
Yes, sir.
but you both have personalities, and you both give off the personalities that I think people would be drawn to.
I would say, I've gotten comments from folks, and they say, "Don't stop here. Run for Senate. We need a governor like you." But that's not my focus right now. My focus, number one, wherever my faith in God leads me, my family. Because your family has to be along for this ride.
Right.
This is regardless. Wife, kid, they have to be here for this. And then, we'll look at things down the road. The people is in there. If the people want you, they'll let it be known they want you.
Yeah.
And if they don't want you,
They'll let you know too.
they're going to let you know.
They'll let you know.
They'll let you know before election.
Well, I'll just say this, that over the course of the 20 years that I've been in South Carolina, Blythewood has made a significant splash. And so I will just say I think that probably has a lot to do in the last 4 years with both of you. And, it does take a lot of courage to do what you're doing. It's, especially when it comes to the learning curve, So I am thoroughly impressed, and I congratulate both of you
Thank you,
on your
sir.
wins
Thank you, sir.
and your being signed into office, and that's
Come back in a year and we can give you an update.
Yes.
You'll have me on at least one more time between now and
oh yeah
various Comic-Cons. So,
yeah. So
I tell you, I'll make sure that I get your contact and make sure Brock let you know. But I'm going to do a 100-day state of Blythewood.
That would be awesome.
we also need to look at doing a state of the town annually too, and having like a
Yes.
little sit down dinner. We proposed that to the prior administration,
We're going to do
and
that.
it just didn't happen.
We're gonna
So
make
I think
sure
that
we
definitely
do that.
needs to be done.
Yep. So
well, Mayor Sloan Griffin, thank you very much for being on with me.
thank you for having me.
Mr. Councilman Donald Brock, I appreciate you being on with me as well.
Always.
A lot of fun, and I am again. I think this is probably one of the most interesting parts about doing these podcasts is getting to meet with individuals that are doing extraordinary things, and I think that what you all have planned for Blythewood and what Blythewood is already going to be accomplishing is extraordinary. So, all right, gentlemen, thank you very much for being on with me. I appreciate it. That's going to do it for episode number 184 of the All About Nothing podcast. Again, thank you, Mayor Sloan, and thank you, Brock, for being on. Absolutely. Links to all of our past episodes, podcast platforms, merchandise, and social media are available on our website at theallaboutnothing.com. If you think our financial model of giving away free content and entertainment is silly and you're in the giving mood, why not become an official Nothinger by supporting the show? Visit theallaboutnothing.com and click on the support link near the top of the page. You can subscribe monthly to varying level of membership tiers and click on the tips link if you just want to give a one-time donation. And if you want to join the conversation, you can join our Discord channel by clicking on the banner at the top of the page. Please subscribe to the show, follow us on Facebook, Twitter, share us with your family and friends. Thank you very much for listening. You all stay safe and have a great week. The All About Nothing podcast is produced and engineered by me, Barrett Gruber. Thanks to Cake for our intro music, Sick of You. You can follow everything Cake the band at cakemusic.com. Thanks to Muff the producer for our outro music. You can follow Muff on Instagram at Muff the producer. I am Barrett Gruber. You can follow me on Instagram and Twitter at Barrett Gruber or visit my linktree /Barrett Gruber. Want to support the show? Visit our webpage, theallaboutnothing.com, and become a member. There are several tiers available, including memberships that give you early access to episodes as well as exclusive content. Visit theallaboutnothing.com. To find links to our social media, merchandise, and past episodes, visit theallaboutnothing.com. If you'd like to be heard on the show, you can call and leave us a message. Dial 803-672-0533. If the time between these episodes is more than you can handle, check out our partner podcast. Zach and I host What the Pod Was That with Carrie Simmons. Visit whatthepodwasthat.com for links and details. Me takes a deep dive down the rabbit hole in episodes of Welcome to Wonderland, available on all the podcast platforms. Visit WTWLpod.com for details. As well, you can listen to the political and social conversation between Dr. Jamela Brooks and Bill Kimmler on Black, White, and Blue in the South, available wherever you listen to podcasts. Please subscribe and share this show. If you're on YouTube, please like and hit the notification bell. Thank you for listening. The preceding podcast is a product of Big Media and copyright 2023, all rights reserved.